For years and generations, Palestinians have took care of that tree and harvested. Why is it being stripped of our identity? Because that tree is our identity, it is our roots, it's our ancestors who passed that tree on for generations. We grew up as very peaceful people. Cultural identity is much more than figuring out or discovering who you are. My grandmothers are Palestine, come together and to really push through together is going to be the end result of a freedom for Palestine.
Hello, my name is Diana Ashar. Welcome to Dialogue channel. Today my guest is Aminah Musa, co-founder of famous PaliRoots. They started as a clothing company promoting Palestinian culture, but became much bigger than that. They set the fashion and they bring the community together. During last 4 years, they managed to raise over $500,000 to help children in Gaza. So Aminah, thank you very much for your time. It's a great pleasure for me to have you here today in this dialogue. And before we start talking about your present, I would like to ask you about your background, because I know that you were born in Palestine. So now you live in the United States, but you were born in Jerusalem. And so I would like to know, how many years did you live there?
Yeah, so I was basically born in Palestine, Jerusalem specifically, by accident. It wasn't supposed to happen, but the more that I think about it, the more of a blessing it is for me. It's a really great connecting point between other people, especially those who are Christian, to say I was born in the same land of Jesus. So for me, it's a great conversation starter and also definitely a blessing to be from the homeland. But my mother went 8 months pregnant to Palestine for her brother's wedding, and then ended up going into labor and having me, which was different for her and definitely special, being there and experiencing it. But I wouldn't say I was raised in Palestine as I was raised as a Palestinian American, who's so deeply rooted in their culture. So I learned a lot from my father, whose name's Zahran, and then my grandfather, my grandmother, my parents, who just really enriched me in the roots. Even though we weren't there, we were still exposed to the culture daily, especially growing up in Chicago. There's a little Palestine here, so we've always had guests come over and learn the etiquettes and understanding what it means to be Palestinian, what does it mean to be hospitable, and things like that. So although I wasn't necessarily raised in Palestine, I feel like I was born in Palestine number 2 in Chicago, considering that we have a little Palestine here.
We live in the time of globalization, and there are many people that say, we don't need nationalities, we should be just citizens of the world. What do you think about it? Why for you so important to speak and to remember your roots, to keep this cultural identity? Why is it so important?
I think cultural identity is much more than figuring out or discovering who you are. I think through identifying what your culture is, you start to understand your basic personality trait. Really, me being Palestinian, it reflects a lot about the person that I am, something that our ancestors has, enrooted into our blood. Really, I feel like somehow the spirituality of our ancestors still speaks to me today, because when I think about being hospitable, I would ask myself, what would my Palestinian ancestors do in this particular situation? Because here in America, it's a culture really focused on I. It's about, what I do, what's my work, what's this, and they forget about the we part. And that's what Palestinian culture does for me. It allows me to see family. So when I am in Palestine, I truly don't feel like a stranger. And I feel like a lot of people who are not Palestinian that do visit will have that same exact feeling. And there's many ways that you could really, see that reflection. Simply going into a store and the first thing that you're offered is more than just a hello, but a cup of coffee to greet you into the store. So that's just really something that I feel like is unique. Although a world without borders would be something that I would love, it wouldn't create chaos or wars or division. I feel like having the identification of where you come from is important into who you are. So wherever you may be from, I definitely suggest looking into it, because that culture is definitely about family. It's about unity, and it's about understanding and really being considerate of one another. So it's much more than just the tales and the chants that we say, but it's more so the reflection of who we are and where we are today.
Sure. And of course, I mean, now it makes sense. Why did you come up to the idea to creating PaliRoots? Do you remember this moment when you, and as far as I understand, it was also your brother, decided? And when did you come up to this idea?
Well, the inspiration behind PaliRoots truly was from my father, Zahran. He is a hardworking, innovative, just a really incredible individual who instilled entrepreneurship into us. And before starting PaliRoots, I went into fashion school because I wanted to be a menswear designer. That's something I really wanted to go into, which is completely out of the norm in the Palestinian culture. It's usually a doctor or a lawyer or a pharmacist, because if they left the country and they came here, they want you to go into something that is going to bring a lot more revenue than just a fashion designer. But the way that the world is right now, fashion is the way that we speak without having to say anything. And that's why, the idea of PaliRoots really came to mind, is how can we make something that allows that conversation to start? Because, our story is being told through the media, and it's not necessarily the correct narrative. So if you had the opportunity to wear something like this, and, someone recognizes a phoenix bird is a really popular icon for, Americans because of Harry Potter. It's like, oh, where'd you get that phoenix bird? Well, it's much more than that. The story of this bird is A, B, and C. So the idea, the moment that we kind of transitioned it is, we looked into the market. I graduated from fashion school. My brother is an intelligent businessman, didn't go to school, but just gets it. He just knows. And he's just really I'm just surrounded by so many inspiring people in my family. And for us to not have started PaliRoots wouldn't have been, the right calling. We had to do something back for our people in Palestine. So when we were sitting in the office, designing things, that's really where we started. We started designing first. And we're like, okay, what products do we want to launch? Let's launch with 30 products. And the first design we made was a design of a freedom fighter. And then we looked at it and we said, this doesn't feel right. Although freedom fighters is an iconic thing for the Palestinian people, they are people who risk their lives to fight for freedom and justice. But that wasn't just it. I think before that, we need to go way back in time and really discover what is the roots of Palestine. War is not who we are. We are much more than that. And that's kind of the idea of PaliRoots. That's why we celebrate the culture, because it's truly something that connects other people to Palestine and brings more recognition. It's more inviting, and if you're going to talk about wars, it's already being told on media. There's something that's not being told, which is the way that we humanize the Palestinians. So when people think of Palestine, they don't think of war, but when they think of Palestine, they think about the best knafa, or the most hospitable people, or a language that speaks of love. When you say, thank you, it's like Allah ya'tik al-afiyah, which means may God bless you, indefinitely. So the way that we speak is even a language of love. And it's really, if we showed that humanization of the Palestinians, I think people would be more susceptible to really dig deep into who the Palestinians are and why we are where we are. It's more so inviting them through love and information rather than what they're already being told on the media. Because again, everybody's suffering in the world. What makes us different? What makes the Palestinians different is that we are just one of the most, in my opinion, I hope I'm not being hypocritical, but I've traveled around and I've never felt home in a country like Palestine. And I've had many conversations with my friends who are, European or Spaniards or, Americans who went there, and I had the greatest time. I just felt like everybody wanted me to come over and have coffee or have dinner at their house. You'd never see them, if they struggle in the streets looking for a place to stay, they'd welcome you to sleep over. It's just that far. So it's just the idea of PaliRoots really was instilled through the idea of really digging deep and looking into our past.
But I'm so happy with what you say, because I mean I saw a couple of your interviews, and I think that's exactly what I think about it, that we have enough politics, and it's so nice to show this positive side of Palestine, this beautiful side.
Marhaba PaliRooters, my name is Aminah.
My name is Ihsan.
And we are the founders of
PaliRoots.
And by the way, are you designing the jewelry as well? Because I'm actually, as you see, I'm wearing it. It's so nice. Is it you? Like, are you designing the jewelry as well?
Yes, so I'm the lead designer of the company. So that means, I bring in all the creative ideas. And if there's something that I can't do, I work with other designers around the world, whether it's through Indonesia, whether it's American-based, Canadian-based. I have a designer in Spain, actually a designer who made this shirt. His name is Ricardo Cabello. He's a huge, huge artist in Spain. Maybe you know him, but if you don't, definitely look him up. But he, gave us this design. He's like, I love the Palestinian people, and I want to donate what you want to pay for the shirt into the PaliRoots meal program. So it's just so nice to know that people really understand what we're doing and to feel like they're really family. I mean, it doesn't even feel like a business transaction. It feels like we just love what you're doing, go for it. And that's how it is with our ambassadors, our influencers. It's just we've grown this connection that is so unbeatable, and it just proves to me that there is truly peace and freedom for Palestine and justice for Palestine, and it starts within the people. The people will achieve that.
Yeah, when you spoke about PaliRoots, that's what I really like, because you said that you are open to everyone. So you are like very open-minded, and you do not divide people, by religions or nationalities. Your doors are open for everyone, and I think this is great, because you give an example how people can preserve their roots. Doesn't matter if they are Palestinians.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's because Palestine lives in the heart. Truly, Palestine lives in here. We had a hat once that we designed, and it says Palestine runs in the blood, and we redesigned it, and we said Palestine doesn't only just run in the blood, it really runs in the heart. It's really here for some people. We've had people, we did a podcast with someone named Dylan, and he's American from Canada, and he's like, I learned about Palestine and I found PaliRoots, and I'm just so he's so in love with the cause, he's so in love with Palestine, and he's not Palestinian himself. So when I asked him, are you Palestinian? Do you have any blood? He goes, no, but I'm Palestinian by heart. And that just that is that spark for me. Because truly, that's what it means to be a supporter of Palestine, is that you feel that type of love inside.
Did you get help from the community when you started the project?
Absolutely. I mean, I give PaliRoots credit to the people. Sen and I are just managing it. We're getting people together, we're growing people, we're supporting businesses and companies and supporting, someone has an election, we'll go and support them, go vote for this and that. It's a community page. It's really, I feel like it hasn't felt like a business to me since the moment we started. It doesn't feel like a business, although it is. We still feel like the idea of making it more of a community is important to us. The numbers don't really matter to us. We care about the amount of numbers who follow us and tune in and engage with us. That's our high, that's our excitement, is to know we have more people coming in and joining and really educating themselves about Palestine. I think a lot of people before PaliRoots didn't understand that Palestinians and Palestinian Christians and Palestinian Muslims, even Palestinian Jews, coexist. That's something that they don't know. And taking the word of, dividing the idea of Zionism and Jewish people, they're two different things. So that's something that we really had to educate and really push because of misinformation or, someone, a particular group that's anti-something that is not necessarily tied with the Palestinian roots. So we've tried to pave a way of education through facts and education through, the people. That's really what it is. Mm-hmm.
It's a business, but you contribute to the society, and you have 10% from your income goes to charity, right? And I think you raised over $500,000. I'm not sure if it's now still correct numbers.
So that's slightly correct. So when we first started PaliRoots, we had a way where, the way that we donated is 10% back through charity, and we also had funding projects. Funding projects was projects that people donated aside from buying from PaliRoots, whether it was like an emergency campaign, like donating, clothing for children during the winter, or building tarps on homes during the winter, or food parcels. Anything emergency based or something that needs to be done ASAP is something that we brought the community, and every project we did, we raised 60 to 100,000 within a month. And that's just the power of the people. Now, aside from funding, we used to donate 10%, but we felt like that didn't really speak the impact that someone was doing when they support and buy from PaliRoots. So we created a new concept called the PaliRoots Meal Program. So we donated in two ways. One of them, again, is through the funding, which we still continue to do. And the other way is through the PaliRoots Meal Program, which we're so proud of. I think right now we're at 260,000 meals donated simply from people buying from PaliRoots. So the way that it works is, someone goes onto PaliRoots, we donate a meal for every order. Even if you buy just one sticker for $3, we donate a meal, it's on us. And then for every $25 you spend, we donate another meal. So let's say you spend $100, you donate 5 meals. And it just keeps going up from there. That is, relatively 10 to 15% of each order. It just depends on the cost of goods of, food, chicken, rice, milk in Palestine, and it fluctuates between 10 to 15%. So that's kind of like how it works. And when you shop through the website, when you add a product, we have a meal counter that says, hey, you've donated this.
It's really good. Yes.
Yeah. So it's an exciting way for someone to really buy and see their direct impact. Because the way that I think about it is that when I purchase something and I see 3 meals, I'm like, there are kids sitting in Gaza eating that plate of food that I provided. And it's so rewarding. It really feels like you've accomplished something. It's much, like I said, it feels much more than just a business, but it really is impacting lives in Gaza, especially children who are in kindergartens, who are suffering through depression, or not having the lack of wanting to go to school, or maybe struggling to put food on their table for their families. So we've really tried to find a way where kids can truly just be kids in Gaza and enjoy that. And enjoy going to school and look forward to getting, food like maklouba, mlokhia, and, protein-based foods for these kids. And to show them that we really do care. We really care about their health, and we want them to succeed, because the future generation is truly the spotlight for Palestine.
Yeah, no, when you spoke about it, because I purchased something already, and this is so nice because all the emails are being customized, and then you have this city like grandmother that is preparing the product from you, and I find it so nice because it's like people not only buying something, they see the sense, so you put real sense into it, and I think that's really great what you are doing, and I wish you, of course, a lot of luck in the future. But what are your main goals at the moment? So what is the next steps that you want to take, let's say?
Oh man, there's so many routes that we can go with PaliRoots. It's indefinite. When we do speak to other business people who are maybe in a bigger market, they're like, it's so niche, why would you go into this? And the thing is, there's just so much we can do. Palestine is such an enriched culture that we can go into, like customizing your own thobe. I know so many people that want to make their own thobes and want to customize it, and they can't have the leisure of going to Palestine that easily. So having the ability to support women who can make Tatri's products would be really a great addition. Or, having an experience of being able to buy food from Palestine, maybe snacks, or buying, olive oil, and buying za'atar fresh from Palestine. So there's just so much we can do. But besides, product wise, we want to build a community where we can have events. Events where we can get Palestinian artists or Palestinian supporting artists who can come, and we'll just have a great bash of just Palestine, just a day where people can come in, celebrate music, have food, and everyone can just come together and just meet and to talk about this. I think really gathering the community together in one place is so important, because it just shows that we're stronger together. Truly, we are so much stronger together, and there's no room for unity right now. We need to learn to coexist and work together and achieve our goals as one, instead of finding that division. So we've noticed that there is a slight division in the Palestinian community, but learning to come together and to really push through together is going to be the end results of freedom for Palestine. Truly, that's what it is. So there's a lot of things that contribute to it, but identifying one particular thing, that is going to be, the next steps, is that there's so many steps. We're just like trying to cover it all at once. We're like, what do we do next? We want to do everything. It's an exciting project, and everybody that's a part of it, our community, they're so excited to see what's next. Like, what's next? What are you guys gonna do now? What are you gonna do? And we're just trying to do things that are fun, like a tour with kickback hoodie bonfires, something fun like that. It's exciting to get young kids especially to be excited about their roots and to rep it. I remember being Palestinian in high school. I would be shy of saying that I'm Arab or saying that I'm Palestinian. But now it's just like, if only I can tap into the minds of, kids who are in high school, middle school, and when someone asks them where they are, they proudly say Palestinian, and I see that happening more and more. They're wearing like merch to school, like, where'd you get that cool hat? Oh, it's from PaliRoots, I'm Palestinian. So that it's a conversation starter and something that I'm really happy to see how things are unfolding.
Talking about the business side, what would be your advice for a beginning entrepreneur?
Start. Really start. I think that's the biggest issue, and I feel like a lot of people do reach out in regards to like, hey, I have this idea, what should I do when I start? Just put it on our website, do influencer marketing, just get it going, really trace what you're trying to do. There's endless possibilities, and the more you want it, the more you'll succeed, truly. And to never give up. I think a lot of people get discouraged when they don't, they start comparing themselves to other companies or other brands. I think more so find inspiration through that. But my biggest advice is just to start and do your research. Like, that's the two thing. Do your research, start, maybe find a mentor or something along that path. But I think the hardest part is starting for some people. But just an advice, it gets harder. I wish starting was the hardest part. It's the easiest part for me now. Eventually, when you start to scale, it's it's managing the team and making sure everyone's happy on the team. Everyone that we hire on our team, they feel like this is their own company too, and that's so important. We don't want to feel like they're working. We want to feel like they're doing their hobby too. And that's how everybody feels being a part of PaliRoots, or at least we try as much as we can to check in and say, hey, are you happy? Are you stressed out? Do you need some time off? Do you just communicate that? And everybody that's a part of our inner team is family to us.
Before I started my project, there were people that told me, be careful, you shouldn't put Palestine in the name of your show, and some different things like this. They were trying to change my mind that I should go more global and not to take topic of Palestine, because we know that in the media often Palestine is a bit of taboo topic. And so did you ever, did you have to face some challenges while promoting your, let's say, PaliRoots in social media or somewhere else?
I feel like one of the challenges when it comes to marketing is that because the word Palestine and the word Gaza is political, we have to find our way around not using that word, because our ads are being denied when we use those words, sadly, so we have to use like Pali inspired instead of Palestinian inspired products, or feed children in Gaza, we say feed children healthy meals, things like that. So that's one challenge that we've learned to overcome. There's no challenge that's not possible to overcome. I don't think anything is hard, but I think everything is challenging when it comes to business, because a challenge is something you can overcome. But going into, before going into PaliRoots, we really had to think about, should we do just Palestine or should we do the entire Middle East? And that was a tough question for us, because we knew we can get bigger markets if we hit other Middle Eastern markets. But for us, we just felt like we were so knowledgeable about Palestine and we would do so well on it. And being able to educate ourselves and educate others what we've learned is something possible and manageable. But there's always so much fear when it comes to talking about Palestine, because it is a taboo topic. We have people that are Palestinians that don't necessarily agree with what we believe in when it comes to PaliRoots. A brand that focuses mainly on culture. There's one side that's like, you should focus on politics. And we have one that's like, no, don't talk about politics, talk about culture. And we're just like being pulled into two, and we're like, where do we go? And the answer is nowhere. You go where you want to go. You go what you feel is right, because gut instincts is something that's sent from spirits, whatever you believe in. God, spirits, whatever it may be, that is your way, your calling, and your path that you should go on to. And we grew up as very peaceful people. So for us, we felt like politics, yes, the word PaliRoots, having a Palestinian brand is political, but I feel like there's already so many brands that touch on the politics of Palestine. And what was missing in the market was a brand that talks about strictly culture. It's not that we don't identify the politics, it's that we are more of a cultural focused brand. And that's something that we're trying to educate to those who might not like PaliRoots. We understand, where their perspective, but we can't necessarily agree with it, because this company is not decided through Hussein and I or my father. This company is decided by the people, and the people request culture, they request education. So we have to stick to that value and that roots in order to keep this company thriving. And if we see that people are coming in from other cultures and religions and saying, I identify with this page because A, B, and C, most of those A, B, and C's is because it's a brand that is inviting. We have comedy, we have, beautiful chants, and, we have sharing, like a pattern of tatriz that represents the city. So it's more educational. I think everybody already knows at this point the politics of Palestine. I think what people miss out, including Palestinians like myself, is the culture of Palestine. And that's something that we learn and we continue to exceed in and to share with our community. So the PaliRoots truly was, the starting point was Hassan and I and my father, and eventually it blossomed into a community that helped us make these decisions. And we usually make these decisions through our close friends group on Instagram. And it's just a whole bunch of diehard PaliRooters. They're like, we love everything that you guys are doing. And we ask them like, hey guys, we have a question. What do you think about this product? What do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about this? So we really created this opportunity for everybody to have a voice through the close friends group. And we just we're currently growing ways that we could incorporate that more and make it more manageable, since we are growing every day.
I think that the direction that you choose, it's very powerful, because the problem of politics that it's often unfortunately dividing people. And there is no, I think, stronger power. Of course, the strongest power we can say love, but there is no stronger power on the second maybe place than unity. And that's what you are doing through culture, And I think that's exactly the right way.
That was beautifully said. That was exactly the whole summary of PaliRoots. It's really, politics do divide people. Although it's important to understand what it is, I think unity is more so what's going to get us to take that leap. There was this, I was having this conversation with a friend who is Jewish. And I asked him why, from a Jewish perspective, what do you see in the Palestinian people? I know you're a supporter of Palestine and PaliRoots, but as a Jewish person, why have you made that choice? He said, there's a lot of things that I grew up with. And the more that I reflect about it, I feel like if Palestine did A, B, and C, I think you guys would achieve peace more. And what he said was, I think the way that Zionists will fear Palestinians is the moment that they are unified. And that hit me so hard. And I felt sad. I really did. And I said, but you think we're divided? Why do you think you're divided? I'm like, well, you guys have two political groups, and they're always fighting each other. And then the government, the people are fighting the government. I'm like, yeah, but people are always protesting against the government. That's normal. He goes, yeah, but not when you're in war. So we're just but there are people who are protesting against the Israeli government. He goes, yes, but again, that, there's so much, it's overcome with a cast of pro-Israelis and pro-Zionist. So he's just said, I think if the Palestinian people were more unified and really showed that, I think you guys would achieve peace. And so that kind of stuck to me, and I said, how can I unify how can I unify the Palestinians? What can we do as that starting point? And again, the way to unify the people, the way to achieve peace is unity. And if I can unify everybody through the love and the celebration of the Palestinian culture, that's just one step. There's many steps that people are taking, but that's just one of many steps. And that's the path that we chose to go to.
Oh, that's so true, because in general, when we see Arab community in the world, unfortunately, we see this, like that some countries are fighting for their own interests, but one could imagine how much power and creative power they will have, we will have if we come together, It's a shame, but I really have hope on the young generation, because when I see people like you, and I think we have a good future, and it's coming.
I'm very hopeful. I've had many conversations with Palestinians here in America that are young, and Palestinians in Palestine and Jordan, or, in Palestinians all over the world in the youth, demographic, and they're just so hopeful and so proud. And I was like, man, if only I was like that when I was young. It's truly evolved. Being intertwined into your culture is so important. So I feel like as they grow, they will instill more power within themselves and their own communities to create change. And that's truly what we need to do, is that we need to be that stepping stone so that the future generation can finally bring justice and freedom to Palestine. Truly, that's what we have to do. I hope to see it in my lifetime, but if I can't, at least I will do everything in my power so that the future generation can see that.
I hope so too.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. And I think you were in Palestine not so long ago, like two years ago, something like this. And you did, in PaliRoots, you have many different creative projects. And one of these projects is Palestine Travel Series, right? Are you planning to do more series? Because they're really nice. And if I'm not mistaken, it was your brother that did the movies, right?
That's right. So my brother Hassan is also known as San Shoots. He's just an incredible, at the time he was 18 when he shot those. So he was 18 shooting this little small snippet documentary showcasing Palestine. That's really, we went out there, we were like, okay, we're gonna be here 45 days. Let's make the most of it. Let's create a tour guide. So what we did is that, when we booked our tickets to go to Palestine, our initial plan was to go and learn more about the roots, meet up with our NGOs, meet up with more factories, and kind of find ways to, work more within Palestine. But through that process, I was in charge of the trip. They said, okay, Mina, you're in charge of making the entire itinerary. I was like, what do we do for 45 days? So I'm looking up things throughout Palestine, and I just couldn't find anything. I was like, why can't I find, this historical, land site? Why is it not being covered as Palestinian? Why is it being covered as, an Israeli tour guide, but it's in Palestinian land? I feel like we didn't do a good job as Palestinians to claim something and to make sure that people are educated that it is Palestinian. So what we did is when we searched up Palestine, there was just all of it was news. I'm like, wait, no, I'm talking about the land. I'm talking about things to do, traveling to Palestine. So that's kind of how the Palestine Travel Series started, is that so many people were so excited to see our stories. We're like, you know what, we'll turn it into a entire series where you guys can watch episode by episode. It's not going to be fully educational, because that is going to be a lot more of a longer project, needs a lot more investment, needs a lot more filmographers and things like that. So what we could do is at least give them a little teaser to kind of see what it's all about, maybe throw in some facts here and there, but more so make it cinematic and exciting. So that's kind of what we did, is we go hey guys, we're here in Nabi Musa in Jericho, and we're going to explore, we're going to look, we're going to go through a tour guide, we're going to show you guys this and that and get them excited. We also show them our journey, since we were there in September, we harvested the olive trees and showing them the world's oldest olive tree in Palestine. No one knew that the world's oldest olive tree is in Palestine, but the fact that the series covered it, it's allowing people to go into YouTube and say, traveling to Palestine. And
what is sorry, what is the name of this oldest olive tree?
Yeah, it's called Al-Bawadi.
Al-Bawadi, yeah. Oh,
That's
yes,
right,
yes.
Al-Bawadi tree. I mean, the way that we found the tree is we just drove there and we didn't have the contact. We didn't know who it was. And we're just walking through this little small like section and we're yelling his name. He goes, come here, come here. So we introduced him, we introduced ourselves and he goes, tomorrow you gotta come back and help me harvest my whole entire tree. I'm just like, okay, 2 to 3 hours, easy. It took us 9 hours. I remember being so tired. That's how big the tree is. It's so big, it took us 9 hours to harvest. But it was such a great experience. We had breakfast with him. We had shots of olive oil, just like straight. I was like, and it burned because it's so fresh. When the fresher the olive oil is, the more you feel it burn in your throat, and it's healthier for you. So we were just like, okay, this is a really great experience, but documenting that was so important because that tree was, it was supposed to be occupied, but the entire village where that tree stands, they stood in unity to protect the tree for days. Nobody left that tree for days, protecting it. And if you go visit it now, you'll see that that fence, that border, is only 10 feet away from that tree. Because if it was occupied and taken and nobody cared about it like this man, it would have been Israel's oldest olive tree. And you're just like, wait, no. For years and generations, Palestinians have took care of that tree and harvested. Why is it being stripped of our identity? Because that tree is our identity. It is our roots. It's our ancestors who passed that tree on for generations. So the fact that that city or that little small village of maybe no more than 100 people came together to protect it is just proof that the more that we unify together, the more that we can achieve peace. And that's really it. The series is more so that introduction for people who are not Palestinian that are maybe visiting Israel to be like, I just wonder what's over that wall. What's over it? So the moment they discover it and see the Palestine travel series, and they're more enticed to see it. And for us, we tried to see, hey, is this gonna work? And it worked. We had someone named Bobby. So he has a YouTube channel. He's huge. Yeah, it's called Living with Bobby. And he's just a world traveler, a nomad that discovers, different foods and places around the world. And he was in Israel at the time. So he just sent us a message and he says, I saw your Palestine travel series and I want to go document Palestine. Can you help me get there? And all we did, we said, call my grandmother. He went over to my grandmother's house. He stayed over her house. He had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And they took him into the Sahel, which is where we plant our olive trees. It's just land specifically designated for olive trees. So that's like a law in our little city or town called Tormasaya, where no one can build houses because it's only for olive trees. That's how much we love our olive trees. And we're willing not to expand as a town just to protect our olive trees. We're like, we'll stay small. We just want to keep them there. But he met my grandparents and he made a whole documentary about Palestine. And it was such a controversial video. There's so many people that are like, free Palestine, know this, know that, know this. And he was just like, what's going on? I'm like, it's normal. It happens because you're a big figure. People are wondering, why are you visiting Palestine? But you've allowed people to really see the light in the people there and humanizing them. And until this day, people discover PaliRoots through his videos. They're like, hey, I watched your video, LivingBobby, and I just bought things from you. And they're just, Americans who are white or Mexicans or Chileans that are finally discovering PaliRoots through his video. And that's just that accomplishment makes the 45 days of hard work worth it. Really, it was just worth it because of that exact moment.
I know that during your last trip you could not get to Jerusalem, is it right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, being born in Jerusalem and being denied of my own birth city, it hurt a lot. I remember when you were driving, and it's kind of like a teaser. When I'm driving, you can see the Dome of the Rock, and I haven't been, at Qubbat al-Sakhra or the Al-Aqsa compound for years now. And, we applied for our visas. We're like, please accept us. We waited. We even stayed 45 days, like I said, just to see if we could get, and it was just denied. And it broke my heart because I really wanted to document it. I really wanted to show it and to experience it. But every time we would see the dome, it's just like inside of me would kind of burn. And I'm just like, it's almost like feeling like a caged bird. It really is, being in Palestine and not being able to visit the most, holy land site for my spirituality, for my religion, Islam. It just kind of like allowed me to really reflect on it and say, I can translate this anger into violence, or I can find a way to take this anger and put it into something that's truly going to benefit the people. And that's kind of like, and when I, think back about it, I'm like, okay, we have PaliRoots, we're going to push and push and push and allow people to really see it. I might think that's really important, but, not being able to go into Jerusalem for this many years, sucks. It really does.
Yeah, sure. But it's good that, as you say, you take it this way, that it motivates you even more to do even more for Palestine. Because after my last visit, I decided to start representing Palestine in the international sports arena, because when I saw the situation there, I said, I really want to do something for them, and that's why it's good that you don't, get disappointed, and you still, of course, you get disappointed, but it encourages you to do even more. And you seem to be a very optimistic person, and you spoke about your spirituality. What helps you to keep yourself so motivated? What are your, let's say, spiritual tools?
I think, I feel like I find my spirituality through disconnection with the world. I think, I think there's a lot happening in the world, especially today, it being 2020 and everything that's going on. But finding that disconnection through the mind and the body and focusing on your spirituality, because there's ways you can tie them together through your everyday life, but there's times you really have to just separate them and grow that spirituality. I do that through disconnection, and through disconnection, I do that through prayers. So through Salah is my way of kind of connecting that spark back and allowing it to relieve me throughout the entire day. So I think it's really powerful what prayer can do, and allowing yourself to disconnect. And where my mind is constantly, I feel like I'm always like working, and just trying to get to where I want to go. And since we're kind of like at that leap where we're almost at scaling, like we're scaling, I'm just like, oh, my mind right now. So finding that time to really disconnect and enjoy the present is so important, and not to worry so much about the future. My mom is a very spiritual person. She's just like a happy soul, always happy. She's half Spanish and half Palestinian. She's from Gran Canaria, which you may probably know. That's where my grandmother, Allah Yarhamha, was born and raised. So for her, she's just a really fun, exciting, human. And my father is also just a very young soul. My mom and dad are 45 and 46, if I'm not mistaken. So they're still very young. So growing up in my house felt like growing up with a whole bunch of kids, a whole bunch of free spirits. And they were never restriction. There was no restriction on us. They're like, we believe in what you believe, and we want you to thrive and to achieve what you want to do, and we want to support you. And it's just like a really loving environment in my house. So that's kind of really made me who I am, is through my family and through my experiences of discovering my spirituality. And I think discovering your spirituality is different for everybody. I wish I could say I know the answer, but it's just a spark that happens. And when you find it, just latch onto it. Don't let it go. It's kind of like an addiction when you find it.
Sure. And what are your favorite books? Some books that inspired you in your life?
Oh man, I'm like looking at all of them. So I think one book that really allowed me to get out of my shell is a book called The Big Leap. I think it's a book that allows us to understand, the power of The Great Big Leap and The Power of the Subconscious Mind. I think those are my two favorite books. The Power of the Subconscious Mind allows us to take words and to use them in a way that benefit us. The power of thought, the power of word, the power of everything. Like everything that you think in your subconscious mind will reflect into your conscious mind. So to be able to dig deep into your brain and to reprogram it, learn, unlearn and learn again is so hard I wouldn't say hard, but so challenging. during your adult life, that when you do discover it and find it, it's so relieving and rewarding. So like some things that I've changed in the way that I use words is instead of saying something is hard, I would say something is challenging, because challenge is something that you can overcome. I think that's a really big thing that I try to enforce into other people. It's like, don't say it's hard, just say it's challenging, and a challenge is something you'll overcome. And it's helped a lot. Or using words like, oh man, I don't feel good today, I feel sick, oh my stomach hurts. Like these kind of words will infect into your mind and your body and your soul, where you'll actually start to feel sick. So for you really need to, unlearn and learn again, and to really focus on your body and your mind and your health, because honestly, time is too short. Time is too little to be worrying about things that is not under your control. So either you overcome it by pushing it to the side and, understanding that it's there and then moving forward, or slowly starting to, to change that. And I think a lot of, younger people, or older people, have the issue of being addicted. I think addiction is so big nowadays, whether it's addicted to social media, addicted to wanting to be a certain someone that you're not. I think you have to really dig deep into yourself and detach from that. And it's so much easier said than done. I know that it's super challenging. Even I have to go through it myself, where I'd compare myself to this one person, and then I would automatically be like, no, this is not a good thought. I need to think of something else. So it's just catching it and then moving. I think the catching part is like, the hardest part.
And if you could choose, what would be your favorite quote or your life motto? You can choose. Please do that.
What I was saying is that I have two different self-motivating quotes. And the reason that I do that, before I tell you what the quotes are, is that I feel like it's important to separate yourself from your business. So I have the Aminah business, and I have Aminah the Aminah. If someone were to meet me and be like, I totally wouldn't have known you were this person, because this other person, you only see, the business or the designer or this, what the world sees. What the world doesn't see is a whole other side of Aminah. That's still, this is still a part of me, but there's just so much more. This is just a little hint of who I really am. So my work one is, someone's working harder than you, what are you going to do about it? And I think that's something that my brother and I tell ourselves all the time when we're really down. We're like, there's someone out there doing just crushing it right now. Are you gonna just sit there and mope about it? No, we're gonna go work. You're gonna go and absolutely feel like you've accomplished your day through your workspace. And then my personal one, I would say, is that oh man, that one's a tricky one. That's a really tricky one. I feel like for me, time is everything, and also time isn't anything for me. So I feel like the world is so, our time here on earth is so little. Use every second to your advantage. I think that's my own quote. Can't quote anybody, that's me.
Yes. And coming back to Palestine, what is the first feeling or word that comes to your mind when you hear about Palestine?
Palestine? Oh man. My grandmothers are Palestine. Really, the way that I think about it, my grandmother, especially, Siti Aminah, who is my father's mother, is so proud of her roots and her heritage. I wouldn't, when I'd go to Palestine, she'd be like, let's go feed the chickens and get some chicken, get some eggs. Oh, look at my baby goats. Oh, look at my olive trees. I have lemon trees, pomegranate trees. I have this trees. I have this trees. She's the one that goes into the mountains. She's the one that chants tales. She is Palestine to me. All that I know of Palestine, I feel like it's because of my grandmother. She would send me articles or things through WhatsApp like, hey, look at this video, look at this video, look at this video. So I feel like Palestine to me, when I think about it, I think of my grandmothers. my grandmother, who is Spaniard, Siti Talgia, or what we would call her Siti Maria, is a person who is a very spiritual person. Again, my mom's side. So my mom is that very spirituality side, and my father's more of that cultural side. So the two created like my mind and who I am.
Great combination.
Yeah, it's just that two combination. So I feel like when I think of Palestine, I really think of my grandmothers. I think they are Palestine for me.
And I'm sure your grandmother is cooking very well. So what's your favorite Palestinian dish?
I think many would disagree with me, but I love mjandara. I don't know. I think I've seen a few memes where people are like, oh, I just think it's delicious. I think it's really great. Or rishtaya, makluba. It's honestly, that's probably the hardest question to ask a Palestinian, especially like my grandmother's and my mother's cooking. I'm just like, ooh, I can't identify one, but if I were to say one that's the most rewarding when you make it is warak dawali. I think that one's just a lot of labor of love, and then you eat it in 5 seconds, you're like, wow.
Yeah, it's really great. It's really good.
It's really good.
And what is for you happiness?
Happiness. I think happiness is what I could say is happiness is not things that you see. I think it's what you experience. So when I say see, or what I mean is by own, happiness is not what you own. So my happiness is not having a husband, it's not having a house, it's not having all these things. It's the experience that I have with my husband, the experience in this home, the experience traveling. I think experience is happiness for me. And if I feel like my life is stuck in a routine, my happiness goes down. So the way to kind of unrelieve that and kind of go back to happiness is to try something new and experience something new, learn something new. So experience is happiness for me.
And if you had chance to go back, what would you wish to your 10 years old self?
You know, I'm not really a regretful person, so it's hard. I wish I had things to regret, but I think regret would have made me a whole other person. So if my 10-year-old self, I think it would be more so to be very proudful of who I am and to rep it hard, like not to be afraid of who I am, to be a very outgoing person. I think growing up as a very shy person, especially in high school, I was just always a person who was very quiet, sitting somewhere, or eating lunch by myself in art class during lunch hours, just not really being a confident person. I would be like, you stay confident. If you look at me now, I'm like talking to the person next to me at a coffee shop. I'm like, what are you working on? So I've definitely evolved and changed from, a person 10 years ago to now. But I think confidence is something that I had to learn.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Aminah, for setting such an example. And of course, I wish you a lot of luck with all your projects, with PaliRoots. And I'm sure it's gonna just get bigger and bigger. So a lot of luck, and thank you for this inspiration. I'm sure many people can learn from example of your family, from your personality. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and thank you so much for having us here and asking some really great questions. It's allowed me to reflect during this session, and I'm happy that I was able to give you my reflections through an hour of talking to many more hours speaking with you.
Thank you. I'm happy that you liked it.
Thank you.
Dear audience, if you like the content of Dialogue channel, please do not forget to subscribe to it and press the bell icon. Thank you for your support, and I see you very soon again.